Hello! Now we will speak about another element of separation and alliance, and that is ending or renegotiating the relationship. Instead of ending, we can use the word transforming. So we celebrate the marriage in our society, we celebrate the alliance, we celebrate it quite more on the idea of the intention rather than the results. It is almost like giving somebody a prize for the intention of being part of competition, or I have the intention to achieve this goal, and therefore we are celebrating it. So perhaps it would make sense to rather celebrate the separation or the divorce of a relationship and saying, hey, thank you for this, thank you for the time we spent together, thanks for the magnificent children that came through us, if that happened, and now I wish you a good journey further, maybe without me, maybe with somebody else, and maybe you will find the love that I could not give you. So I think looking at relationships like that gives us a different way of thinking about it. Ending relationships, like when I grew up, I saw a lot of, or I have lived through and seen a lot of relationships, and when it's over, despite all the love that they've had in these relationships, when it's over, they sort of talk bad about each other and try to make that relationship as little as possible, as bad as possible, and that is, yeah. I think that by using the idea of transforming a relationship, and this happens a lot more in polyamory, because you are ending a relationship from lovers or partners or married, and you are becoming friends, for example, because when you're over with relationship in a polyamorous network, you might find out that the person you said goodbye to might be a part of somebody else's. I mean, you might be connected through that person, through the lover of your lover's loved ones. Of course, relationship might end because one is dying. That's not so much we can do anything about, except maybe prepare that everything legal and so on is in order. And I would wish that there was a way for polyamorous alliances to be looked upon in a legal way. So we exclude death from this discussion of ending relationship, and we also exclude sickness. Sickness is changing the relationship, but it's not really a reason to well, it's not in itself a reason to end the relationship. I guess that's my experience. But it might have to be renegotiated in some ways. So let's look at healthy people deciding that now we are not happy the way it is, we want to change, transform our relationships. So if you don't have to meet ever again, then there's very little problem. If you are to meet again, for example, because it's children that you have together, because it's projects you have together, because it's possessions that you have to share, you might have to look at it differently. So, when is the moment to end a relationship? And I think one very basic thing is when one of the partners want it. I think it's very hard to stop that. when one partner wants to end a relationship, it's, I think, better to let it go. You can't force anyone to stay. Maybe, of course, a separation time is a good idea. Let's say a week, a month, half a year. But I think it's a good idea to give that, if you have a separation time, a specific time. That might give you a little time to look at the consequences of this transforming, ending, changing of relationships. So there's some ways not to do it, and I think that one of them is making a big drama. Treat each other well. A child of 5 years old might be sweet when screaming for candy, but an adult screaming for a loved one is not so cute. So I think stalking does not help either. If somebody says, I don't want to be with you, and please let me be alone, then respect that. And I think also one thing is, do not write it on the internet. There's a site called Homewrecker, and that's an example of, you might have to live with this, words you said maybe half a year afterwards, or 1 year afterwards, or 3 years afterwards. And keep it, I think, within you. Don't spread it all over. You might say things or write things that you don't actually mean. So the question is then, how to end it? And one thing is to ask, what is good for all involved? That means your other partner, your other partners. Is there some things that might be important to take into consideration? If there's children, how is it to be good for children? A respectful ending is a good thing. That word will spread the same way as a disrespectful ending will spread. So, treat each other well, because you might meet each other again. And maybe this is actually a good conversation to have at the beginning of a relationship. How did you end your previous relationships? How did they end? How were they transformed? And if me and you, we should break up, how would you like that to happen? How would I like that to happen? That's maybe a good way of starting a relationship. And maybe even if we were to end up, what kind of ritual would you like it to contain? So, if we are celebrating the separation, and the separation might mean that you can start again, but you end a phase of your life. So you celebrate this. How would you celebrate the transformation? Would you thank each other for everything that is good? I thank you, my partner. I thank you, my lover. I thank you, my friend, for the things that we've done together. And so on. And of course, wishing the best for the partner. And maybe keeping the option open that we will meet again. But let that not be a pressure, but rather an option. And should our ways cross again, and we feel the love for each other, let that also be a possibility. So, questions to ask yourself. How have you ended or transformed your relationships in the past? And how would you, if you have to do it sometime in the future, wish to do it? And have you discussed this with your partners?